vacant. And there's a little girl back here. See if I can get back here. Wow. She's back here. It's like this was a little room, like the jail cells. She's got a little bed here. She has a little nighty cap on, and so this is way back in like, wow, 19, I don't know, 10? It's unusual. It's a little girl. This place is more stuck back in time. I just had two kids go by, a boy and a girl, laughing, running downstairs to do whatever, but residual.
I'm about community, learning, discussion, respect, integrity, truth, science, and discovery. Welcome to My Paranormal Soapbox. Hello, and welcome to My Paranormal Soapbox. I am your friendly neighborhood ghost hunter, Justin Brown, and welcome to episode 12. This topic I got from a viewer from YouTube. I forgot to load the image, but I'll go ahead and do it now. See if I can do it, because I think it would be cool that you actually see their comment up on the screen. So let me go to pics. I need to go to scans. That's right. But thanks for joining me, guys. I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys are ready to talk about infrared and full spectrum cameras, because I know I am. I've done my homework and I'm ready to go. If you have any comments or any questions, feel free to jot them down in the comment section, and I'm going to have Missy Vastine read them off. I forgot what I named this, so I'm going to have to look through and see if I can find it. And I'm really butchering the front of this because I forgot to upload it. I'm sorry. I was going to do that. I thought it was going to be cool, but I'm going to have to cancel it. But I can go to YouTube and read off the comment. Let's do that. Let's go over to the guest screen and talk to the people we have on the show tonight. We have Missy Vastine with us. Say hi, Misty. Or Missy, rather.
Hi.
And if you have any questions or comments, Missy's going to be reading them off periodically for the show. And we also have Josh Bender with us, since he builds infrared lights.
Hi, everybody.
I thought it would be appropriate to have him on the show so he can give his input. Okay, let's see here. See if I can find it here. Okay, Cons- let's see if I can go over to the graphic screen. No, yes screen. We're gonna go left monitor. Okay, see if we can blow this up. Yeah, I lost it one. Okay, there we go. Conspiracy. Um, says interface death. If I may make a request for these videos, I'd like to see one on cameras and the use of IR UV lighting soon. Theory and practice, and why not just leave the lights on? I think walking with light reflecting and causing glare is another bad TV habit that needs to go. Okay, so that is why we are having this show today. If you have any recommendations or suggestions for a topic on this show, please feel free to jot them down. I'm still not seeing the comments on my screen, which makes me sad. I'm not seeing them at all, and it's not working. So that makes me very sad inside. Let's see if we can go to Streamlabs, launch this. Yeah, I'm not seeing them work at all. So that's just a big waste of time. I tried, guys. I don't know why it doesn't work, but we'll be monitoring your comments. So, infrared cameras, full spectrum cameras. We use them, right? The reason people use them can range. I guess there's a range of reasons and theories out there. I've been looking over some of them, going over, forums, blogs, and websites of people that talk about the theory and the cause and use of such camera equipment in the paranormal field. And I think the common ones are they don't want to, one of them is they don't want to introduce light into the environment that may either ward away or startle, scare any entities that are in the vicinity. Okay. They want, that's why, when they introduce the infrared light, it's not going to, do that. But the main common hypothesis is that spirits emit and reflect a spectrum of light that we normally don't see with the naked eye. And we normally don't see infrared light. It has a slower wavelength than regular white light, and UV has a higher frequency of wavelength, and it's above what we can see with our naked eye. So the consensus in the paranormal community over the last 30 to 40 years seems to lean towards infrared. Okay, and the infrared spectrum is believed to see things that you cannot normally see with your naked eye, and there's a couple theories on why they believe that. The main one, I think, is if spirits vibrate at a higher frequency than us, a lot of people believe that lower wavelength light will reveal it. Okay, I don't know if that the physics behind that is correct, but that's what a lot of people believe. Okay, but infrared light is heat, essentially. It's the radiation that that is involved with heat. So we're going to talk about the physics about infrared. Now, where the full spectrum comes into play, full spectrum cameras actually see both visible light and infrared. Okay, it doesn't actually see ultraviolet past the small amount of UV wavelength we can see with our eyes, because black lights, we do see some light emission from that source, but as you go deeper and higher into frequency in the spectrum of UV, we do not normally see that. So we cannot see deep into the UV spectrum with full spectrum, but we can see pretty much all the infrared and all the regular white light. So the theory behind full spectrum is, okay, some manifestations, some paranormal phenomena can be seen in regular light, so we don't want to miss that too, because true infrared cameras only see infrared light. So we use both in our paranormal research, and an interface death does, because it's unknown whether these theories are true when we try to find supporting evidence of that. So, real quick, Josh, are you here with us still?
Yes.
All right. Before I get into my talk about this whole ordeal, why do you use infrared light, and why do you think it's important in the paranormal field?
Well, I think it's important because, one of the reasons I like to use it is because, obviously you're investigating at night. For one of the main reasons is because, you know, for me anyway, in my opinion, it's a lot quieter in the evening. It's these locations, and the infrared, you're not really blinding people with flashlights and stuff like that, so it's a little easier to see. But uh, you can get a glare from other people's IR, so it's good to plan out how you set up your lights and everything like that.
Okay. What? How would you feel if we just turned on the regular lights and just shot with regular light cameras?
No, honestly, I think that would be fine too. I think things can be caught day, night. It doesn't matter what time.
Mm-hmm. So you really don't have a prominent theory on why infrared's better than white light.
No, nor I don't have a preference either.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about it some. Okay, guys. Let's talk about why we why the conspiracy asked that question, because it seems that the paranormal pulp culture really likes using the infrared because of some factors. It looks creepier. Okay, if you know people are in the dark and you're seeing essentially what they can't see, it's almost like you're watching them freak out in the dark, but you can see everything that's going on. So that kind of gives an interesting look into what you were seeing on the video. Okay, so that's one thing that a lot of skeptics out there try to point out. They try to say, well, there's no supporting evidence to the theories of why people use infrared. They just use the infrared cameras because it looks spooky, and it almost gives like a thrill to the viewing experience. But Josh did mention something that is true. People who do paranormal research do investigations at night for multiple reasons. They work during the day, they're off in the evenings, mostly the weekends. It's quieter at night. Try to get lab conditions for the field in which you're researching. So quieter, less people making noise, less chance of contamination going on, more control of the environment. So sunlight does play a role in that. So you have to either rely on regular light emitted from regular bulbs and LEDs, or infrared illuminators, or in some cases ultraviolet, because some people do use ultraviolet light to research the paranormal. Okay. It's fascinating topic to me because there seems to become an increasing debate about what is used, what's the best thing to use. I see both sides of it, but after we get past the debate topic and portion of this show, we're going to go into actual science behind the physics behind all the different variations and spectrum of light, and what I think manifestations are, and why they can appear in different spectrums of light and why they don't. So first and foremost, the debate is one thing is true. When most people see ghosts, apparitions, light anomalies, what have you, they're not using infrared. They see it in regular light. So if, for example, if you go to a client's home, they say to you, I seen a ghost child in my hallway. And you ask them, okay, was it light? Was it dark? Was it day? Was it night? Did you have the light on, light off? You get all that information. They may tell you that the light was off, the light was on. So the best thing to do is to replicate the environment in which they saw it, okay, to see if it happens again. Most times, they're not using infrared camera equipment and infrared illuminators to see what they saw. So it's kind of counterintuitive to me to break out all the infrared cameras to try to see what they saw. Now, to reveal something that's not normally seen is one thing, but to try to replicate or experience what the client's seen is another. So I want there to be a determination and clarification of those two approaches to your paranormal investigation. And let me know what you think in the comments about all the stuff that I'm addressing. Okay, and we'll get to your comments in just a moment. And your questions, if you have any. Another thing is, why would you turn the lights off and use infrared and not use normal light? Because now you're trying to see with your eyes, you can't see a damn thing because it's dark out. That's another thing skeptics and people debate about with using infrared cameras and night vision. So I do agree with that side. I do think that if you want to see what's going on and you want to see what people report, turn all the lights on so you can see what they report and break out a camera to record it. So I think you should do both things. When it comes to infrared or paranormal investigation using these infrared cameras, you have to consider that you may only have a limited time. Try to get there where there's light and try to get there, be there when it's dark. You definitely want to be there when the phenomena occurs in the most frequency, in the most times. If it's sporadic, then I guess it doesn't matter when you investigate. But if it shows up at certain times, you definitely want to be there then. But you want to be there during the day and night in all lighting conditions. So if that's possible, you want to research during the day, research with normal light. You want to research with different spectrums of a light. You want to do it all. So if you have camera setups, try to use a camera rig that shoots in regular light and infrared, and one in full spectrum if you would like. I think that would be the best thing to do. Even with the lights on, the infrared camera will only see infrared light, so you will get a variance in data doing it that way. You can turn the lights off and still use the same setup and use illuminators. You can do that too. But I don't want you to limit yourself is basically what I'm saying. But I think when the debate starts to get heated and skeptics start to, question things that pseudo-scientific paranormal investigators do, they try to pick them apart. So I don't know any investigator that tries to just investigate at night. They are out there, I'm sure. But I think most investigators do investigate during the day and they investigate at night for the reasons we spoke of. So let's go to Missy and see what we got in the comments.
Well, we have a lot here.
Okay. Take your time.
Let me see. Paul Browning said using lights to see shadows in the dark. Anyone else see a problem?
Yeah, there could be problems.
He also said I use both, but caught more with IR. And
why is that? Why does he think that is, Paul? Why do you think you catch more? Did Paul say he caught more in IR?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm interested.
He said, and I can watch the LCD screen and not fall down the stairs.
Yeah.
Michelle Lilly said because people like it because it looks cool on TV, in my opinion.
It does.
Bill Davis said I use it instead of a flashlight. I can't read this.
What is it you can't read?
Okay. He said it's less obtrusive and I can film in total darkness.
What is less intrusive again?
The flashlight.
Okay. What does he mean by less intrusive?
He said I use it instead of a flashlight. It's less intrusive and I can film in total darkness.
He uses infrared then?
Yeah.
Okay. That is what I read. The reason behind that is what a lot of paranormal researchers say. It's less intrusive, either to the entities or to other people or the environment. I mean, when you start introducing a lot of light, there could be pros and cons to that. and and it seems like there's more cons than pros when I read them.
I can't get the dang comments to scroll.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't do it well on a.
I'm using the iPad.
Okay.
It's not working. Okay. Buster Williams said a FSIR UV here. Miles said I do investigations at any time I have photographed a black shadow during the day. Darkness narrows your field of vision. How is that any good? Paul Browning said.
Well, yeah, if you use no light whatsoever, then it's going to narrow things down. So you want to use some light. If it's infrared, you want to be looking at your monitor, and that's basically all you can see unless you're using those red flashlights. But that was my point. You know, if you want to see stuff, turn on the lights, right?
Miles Stanton said I like to use green night vision flashlights while I do an investigation.
Okay.
Bill Davis said full color cameras capture more information. IR is less information, may be easier to see with your eyes. RJ said you also have to take into account that your eyes have a 5-degree blind spot and not. I can't see any of this. It's off the center. Honey, you're gonna have to read this because I can't see it.
Okay, RJ Murphy says you also have to take into account that your eye has a. Okay, she read that. Miles says all my team members carry a different camera, so that way we can the photography is in different modes. That's good, but what I would suggest is, like I suggested before, put all the different cameras on one rig. So if you see something in front of you, or if you're capturing something in front of you or in front of your lenses, you can have all three there to see if there's any variance in data. Paul Browning says, I don't use IR, but my data loggers monitor it. Lit rooms are much more safe. That's just common sense. It is dangerous in the dark, and that's a good point to bring up. The dangers in the paranormal field are obvious. When it's dark, it's harder to see, and you're more prone to accidents. Okay, so you have to use extreme caution. Moving around in the dark and places that are not safe, you have to use extreme caution in doing so. You definitely want to know your surroundings and your environment very well. You want to be informed of all the potential dangers, you know, places you can fall, places you can trip. Definitely have somebody dedicated to the safety of the location in your group to take care of that for you. Like you should delegate someone to do that, as we do in Interface Death. So that is definitely a valid point. Okay. We'll get back to the comments. If you have any more, just keep going. But I want to get into my theory and my experience with the paranormal using different spectrums of light and different cameras. Okay. I'm going to bring up, let's see here, we'll reset this. Okay, we're going to go to the guest screen left monitor here. I'm going to turn on Hangouts for a second. Yeah. Okay. What you're seeing is a hallway. And I'm using an infrared camera. It's a CCTV camera. I'm just monitoring this hallway. The client said that they constantly see mainly shadow manifestations. Sometimes they're whitish gray looking, but most of the time they're black. Okay? And he usually has a lamp behind his chair that he illuminates the room with, and he can see the shadow on the doorway down here. Like if you look at this door, he can see him going from left to right most times. Okay, so I'm setting the camera there to see if we can capture it during the time of night it usually occurs. Okay, so we'll let this play. I'll try to, if you notice, yeah, it just happened. Notice the top left corner there. Sometimes they're faint, sometimes they're big. Now you'll see a small little flash there. All right, let me know if you saw that. Skip ahead to the next portion. And it's usually up at the top part of the screen here. Although that was the light anomaly. Go to the shadow anomalies again. You see it zipping through there. Sometimes there's a pretty big one right there. It's very strange. It doesn't look like any formation of a humanoid. So I thought that was strange. It's almost like a mist or a fog that kind of moves around very quickly. And it's bizarre. Okay? So that right there is reported a lot, right? It's reported quite a bit. A lot of people report seeing shadow anomalies, shadow figures, and I've been working on a theory for shadow people, and we'll talk about that type of manifestation right at the moment. So when you're looking at things and it's dark, it's because the physics and science says that it's absorbing the light and not reflecting it. All color that you see in the normal light spectrum that we can see with our eyes absorb white light and reflect certain wavelengths of light. So if you're looking at my skin, for example, it's absorbing all the colors except for the peach colors and some of the red colors and some of the brown colors. And it's reflecting that wavelength of light and absorbing the rest. Okay, and that explains color in the regular light spectrum. Okay, black is absorbing all color. Okay, it doesn't. The only reason you see it is the material has shiny surfaces, and you're actually seeing reflection of white light off of it, like this rim here. That's how you can see it. But things that are black absorbs all the colors of light in the regular light spectrum. So, if you see a shadow figure, whatever is there is absorbing all the light in the regular spectrum. Okay, so that's what the physics tells me. If you're seeing this with your eyes, so what could be causing that? What can absorb regular light? Okay, there has to be a substance there or some type of anomalous, manifestation going on. It's not just there for no reason. So, in this case, in the infrared case, you're seeing something absorbing infrared light. One thing I do know that absorbs infrared light is water vapor and carbon dioxide. Those are two common things that you can see in the environment that's abundant. In this case, it would be interesting to hypothesize if it's water vapor. And the reason why I say it's water vapor is because I have a theory that some manifestations, maybe a lot of manifestations, are caused by the ionization of the atmosphere, the vapor in its vicinity. If you got, the air in your vicinity, when it becomes ionized, it starts clumping together and causing vapor to condense, and it just clumps together. Okay, you may see a mist, you may see something there. It may, the light may behave in a different way where that vapor is clumping together. And if that's the case, that would explain shadow anomalies in the infrared spectrum. Now, in the regular light spectrum, it's going to be different. Okay, so you may see a mist instead of a shadow. So this is just an example of applying science to what you're seeing in manifestation. So as long as we're doing that, I think it's perfectly fine to experiment with the different spectrums of light. Okay, and another thing that's interesting to me is UV light. What good can UV light come to be used as, in the paranormal field? Well, certain things do absorb UV light, like ozone, for example. And there, if you get a UV camera and you put on sunscreen, it looks black instead of translucent. I mean, there's all kinds of different things. So you can use different spectrums of light to expose or see things in a different way to help know that they're there versus regular light. So I just kind of want to stress that and emphasize on that. There's no right or wrong answer. There's no universal way that you should go about, using the light. What say you guys in the comments? I think we should go back to the comments again real quick, see what's going on with that. Derek, is anybody else having any other conversation or asking any more question?
There's not really a whole lot of questions. It's a lot of side conversation.
Okay.
Paul Browning said, I do not use IR, but my data loggers monitor it. He does have a lot of comments about his data loggers, what they do, what they don't do. Talking about lit rooms being much more safe because it's common sense, which everybody kind of knows when you're in a dark room that you run the risk of running into stuff, falling downstairs, hurting yourself. Let's see some of the other ones that I marked. Michelle Lilly said, if you are investigating outside, it's better during the day so you can see if there's animals and you won't fall in a well, LOL, which I kind of found that funny.
Yeah, that is funny.
And then Paul also
it's funny
said,
because he fell in a well, Michelle, not because we think you're silly or your comment is silly.
Exactly. There's another comment down at the bottom of the list that I'll get to that was really funny. Paul said, by the way, a UV lamp will light up a room like nobody's business, and it seems to work with night vision cameras pretty well. The only drawback is the heat produced by the bulb. They get really hot.
Yeah, we're actually seeing the heat energy from the bulb. That's why it illuminates.
Creates that ripple effect.
Yeah, the infrared cameras can see the heat generated from the light source.
Paul Browning also said his own observations have shown that I do believe he's talking about spirits or manifestations. They're clear and only vaguely visible in the daylight, but they are darker than an unlit room in the dark.
Yeah, that a lot of people report that, and that's interesting to understand the physics behind it and kind of come up with hypotheses that that involve physics, so we can test them.
Right.
And I know Paul's a big advocate of that.
Now, where was it at? Jim Palmer jumped on and said he's heading down to Moonville sometime next week. Any changes to park rules regarding the tunnel as far as anything past closing time? So we may want to hit him up later on.
No, go ahead and answer that question.
I'm pretty sure there's really no rule changes. I just know, be careful, stay on the path, don't get the cops called. You'll be all right.
Here's what the Vinton County Sheriff told me and Derek and the rest of the people that were there. The trail, Moonville Trail itself, is county property. It's like a road. As far as the law is concerned, it's like a road. You can be on a road 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If a park ranger comes up to you or a sheriff comes up to you in Athens or in Vinton County and you're on that trail somewhere, which includes the tunnel, you're completely illegal. Now, the sheriff also told me, now this is not a ranger, the sheriff also told me that as long as you're not breaking laws and causing, some type of criminal mischief or disorderly conduct, they don't care if you're in the park after hours anyway, because they just consider you camping. They urge you to stay off the trails and in the campsite because of safety. But if you're just standing there in the park at midnight or whatever and not causing any problem, and they come up to you and say, hey, I'm just trying to see a ghost, I'm being extra careful, here's my flashlight, this is what I'm doing, they're not going to do anything to you.
Right.
So that should answer your question.
They're way laid back.
Yeah. But if you piss them off, they will bring it to you.
Oh, yeah. Bobby Ashbury said he thinks frequency comes into play on this whole scenario as well.
Yeah, I mean, you do want to consider frequency and how light interacts with matter.
Mm-hmm. Now, Bill Davis, I don't know if he can link you the video. He said a friend just posted a video. He said he heard a pop behind his head, and his ear popped like an aircraft. Then the IR caught a mist blow up behind his head and disappear.
A pop. That kind of reminds me of some atmospheric pressure change, like a really quick or dramatic.
Right. And that's what Paul Brownie said, that they've been trying to catch those style of pops as he's describing them to prove that they are highly localized barometric pressure changes.
Yeah, whatever that is, it's an emergent phenomena, and it can be very minute and very fleeting. It lasts for a very short amount of time. It would take some pretty decent data loggers and equipment to not only detect it, but to get any kind of data from it, like, scientific data or environmental data.
Right. And pretty much that was the end of all the comments.
Okay. Well, thank you. Derek, real quick, before we go back to Josh, because I'm sure Josh has more to say, what is your theory on infrared and full spectrum? Why do you use it? Why do you think we should use it? Why or why not?
I used mainly a lot of IR when we first started, and then I went to full spectrum just because I wanted to try something different to see if it was there.
Derek, we lost your video. You might have hit the video button.
How about now? Oh no, her phone's in low power mode. Hold on, let me. I gotta plug it.
We'll go back to you. We'll go to Josh. All right, Josh. Anything else to add? We've been talking about the benefits from regular light. What would you say if I wanted to say, okay, we're going to start turning on the lights and using less infrared lighting and cameras? What would you say to that?
I'd certainly be okay with it, but I think we need to explore all options instead of just changing our minds and doing one. One question I did have for you, just to back things up a little bit, whenever you had the shadow figure in the on that CCTV camera, do you think that you would have seen it if you just had regular light down that hallway?
That is a really good question. What he says he sees both shadow and mist-like anomalies. So what I'm thinking is it's going to look different in different spectrums of light, like we explained. There's an obvious reasons why it's going to look. Like if you look at a black shirt in infrared, it looks white. So that's just a good example of how things look different in infrared versus regular light. So it's definitely going to look different, but you're definitely going to see something. So the question is, will you be able to see it more or less or the same? And if so, what data or information that's useful will it provide your paranormal investigation and your paranormal research? I think as long as you address it that way, you should be good to go, right?
I agree.
So yes, I do agree with you. Just don't do nothing but investigate with the lights on. You should research infrared lighting, UV lighting. You should try to do what you can. Now, I will add that what's interesting is anytime light hits substance, hits matter, and absorbs it, it transfers it into heat energy. Okay? So in the example of the infrared camera footage that I showed you, if there's any light, it doesn't even have to be infrared. Just say regular light is absorbed and you see black. It turns it into infrared. It turns it into heat energy. So using a passive infrared motion detector or any type of motion detector that senses infrared radiation, that would cause the motion detector to see it, and that would explain why shadow anomalies set it off. I think that's fascinating. What do you think about that?
I think that's really interesting, and I think it's all that stuff is worth trying. But that adds to your equipment too, because if you want to use different cameras at the same time, using full spectrum versus IR, but and that's more footage to review later. But I think it's worth it.
Right. I think what I would do is set both of the video feeds side by side, sync them, and watch them both at the same time. So
yeah.
you don't have to watch both. All right, we'll go back to Derek here. Derek, did you want to continue with what you were saying? I completely forgot what you were saying.
Well, you had asked about the IR in the full spectrum, why I use it, what I thought about it.
Okay.
You know, like I was saying before my video loft, I started with IR, just with Sony Handycams, just because of the fact that you could use that camera and see in the dark was the main reason. You know, it was better than walking around pitch black and not be able to see nothing with a video camera, thinking that you was going to pick something up. So, you know, I started with IR so I could actually record in the dark, on the basis that there's the possibility that something could show up. It was never on any type of factual basis that I'm going to put this out and something's going to be there. It was the mindset that something might happen. More of a trial and error thing. And that was kind of the reason that I tried full spectrum, was for the same things, was to have options, you know, to see if one works and another one doesn't, which one works better than the other one, and so on and so forth. And just to kind of keep expanding on the different options that are out there for lighting, cameras, different ways to convert cameras and pick up things. Because really, I've seen more without a camera with my eyes than I've ever caught on a camera of any kind, even with a still picture regular during a day camera.
Me too.
Which brings up some interesting things here, because we had a comment that caught my attention, and it was by Paul Browning. He stated that they had a camcorder monitoring a hallway, and a figure came down the hallway, stood directly in front of him, and nothing was shown on the video upon review. He said he's seen it with his eyes, but it wasn't on video. The video was shot in IR. It moved really fast, very oddly fast, which brings me to the other thing that we have been trying to work on with the strobe effect, to try to slow these fast moving objects down to see if we can actually capture it in a different spectrum of light to prove the theories.
Right. Before we get to that, I do want to, this is another con to using bright illuminated light, whether it be infrared, UV, or regular white light. Now, in his case, he cannot see infrared light, so he can see subtle variances in dark versus not so dark. Okay? So if the entity is darker than the ambient darkness or light, however you want to say it, then he's going to see like a small variance. But if you flood the environment or the field of research with a bright light, you may not see that small variance. Okay, especially if it's heat, energy, or infrared. Okay, just say you had this little heat anomaly come along, and all of a sudden you just flood it with a lot of heat, a lot of infrared radiation. You just blew it out. So that might have been why he couldn't see it. Possible reason why. The other reason is it just wasn't visible in the infrared spectrum. It was visible in a higher wavelength than infrared. So he has told me about that, and that is interesting. But that you should take into account that the amount of light you're using can be a factor in what is visible and what is not, especially if you're trying to capture things that are barely visible at all. Because if you flood the environment with a lot of, electromagnetic radiation, whether it be infrared or whatever wavelength, that could be a factor.
Right.
And I also want to bring up too, the shadow anomalies possibly emitting infrared radiation because they are absorbing light and transferring it back into heat. That is fascinating because your infrared cameras, if you turn all the lights off, it may not see the infrared emissions coming from something small, but the passive infrared sensors on motion detectors can. So I think that, that possibility can change our approach to our optics when we try to see things like that. Any other questions or comments you want to address before we shift gears?
I have a question, Justin.
Go ahead.
Like how we use different style recorders, and sometimes you can catch EVPs on one recorder but not the other. Do you think the same can be for uh, different brands of cameras? The lenses are um, similar, but not, they're different qualities. Can you catch an anomaly on one and not the other, and both using the same light source?
It's possible. I know it depends on the camera and the camera settings, the sensor. One thing I think of is like auto white balance and auto exposure compensation. If you're using a camera rather with auto settings, depending on, like, say if it's something very barely visible, the white balance and the automatic exposure compensation on different cameras can vary slightly and cause things maybe to be more visible, whether it deals with color or deals with light magnitude or dimness. So it's possible, but I think the the analogy you have with the recorders is okay, but the reason I believe that some are better than the others because it's quality. So yes, let's address that analogy, as you stated it. If you use a $50 camera versus a $5,000 camera, you're going to see more stuff on the $5,000 camera. Okay? So I think that's the most important thing to point out about your analogy. And that's what I kind of want to preach. The shittier your equipment is, the poorer results you're going to have with it. So yes, I would have to agree. Derek,
Yes.
back to you, buddy.
Let's see. Most everybody is still talking about the event that Paul was talking about. He caught on video, or didn't catch on video, but saw with his eyes. Paul describes it as a predator effect in a lit room, which is highly interesting to think about.
I've experienced the same exact thing. It's like a wavy energy. Like you're looking at light being, manipulated in a way that causes like a little wavy type anomaly to occur.
Right.
And that is usually what you're going to see when you're actually seeing something paranormal, when it comes to something like energy, for example. I think that's interesting. I think that, certain types of energy is going to cause that effect. Like if you look at a highway on a hot July summer day and all the heat radiation coming off the highway, it's going to cause waves. Or if you're boiling pasta, that heat energy off the top of the pot is going to cause a ripple that you're looking through. It's going to bend the light. It's going to change the path that the light takes to your eye, and it's going to bend it like a mirage effect.
Right.
In some cases, it can cause like a reflection, like a mirror reflection, and in the general cases, it just changes the direction and angle the light hits your eye versus all the rest of the light around you. So you're going to see it wave. You're going to see some kind of weird effect. So there is something going on there. There is something definitely going on out there, and I am trying, along with these guys on this show with me, are trying to come up with ways to test theories and possible hypotheses to see what's going on. We need to do that. We need to understand, your basic principles of physics and science to do that. You can't just, learn everything off of TV and what people has been doing wrong for a long time. Paul says he's working with thermal now, building a small viewer to use in addition to an IR camcorder. Now, thermal does have its use, but we can only see what's bouncing off the surface of things. Now, I will we'll go back to the main screen here and you guys just for a second. Now, Joe Vitale sent me a video. I told him to do a test with a compressed air, like a can of duster you do to clean off your keyboard. I said, stick that in front of your Seek thermal camera and tell me what you see. If can you see a temperature anomaly, an ambient temperature anomaly? So what he did was the only way he can get the what comes out of the can to be visible if he got it really super cold and sprayed it. So a very short period of time, the vapor, the condensation from the vapor turned blue right outside the straw, but immediately after you seen it, it dissipated, quickly. And the only time he could get it visible is if he caused vapor to occur because of the extreme cold versus the ambient temperature. So that is the only way you will be able to see something with a thermal camera that uses infrared to detect surface temperature. It has to have some available substance for that infrared emission to interact with, so you can see it on a thermal. So the cold spots that you get, if it doesn't have enough substance to it, you will not see that. But you may be able to see it at different light spectrums, possibly. But like we said before, you're gonna have to have some vapor occurring. You're gonna have to either have some condensation or something ionizing the gas in the media area to cause vapor, some clumping together of the molecules. So the thermal camera is still useful. You can see anomalies like that. They just have to have enough material there to reflect off of. So we're approaching 6 minutes left. Derek, do you have anything else to include on this topic and subject matter? It went by so fast. Anything else that you think would be important? Oh, that it only showed you regular light and infrared? Well, here's the problem, okay? There's some part of the small part of the spectrum that can, with our eyes, can see UV. Our eyes are designed to see regular light, and there's some small part of the spectrum we can see infrared. So you are seeing UV light right now, and you can see UV light on cameras. Now, if you want to see just UV light, you got to put a filter on the end of your lens. The problem is the ambient light is taking over all these smaller portions of the spectrum that you normally can't see. So it's going to be more dominant. So you're going to see more of that. If you take all of that away, then you're going to see the small little bit of UV you can see. That makes sense. So to see all of that at one time is really not possible because of how our eyes are designed. Okay? Now, if you took footage of UV, footage of the same footage in regular light and the same footage of full or infrared and overlaid all that, you're going to get the same thing you see. Okay? I haven't tried that, but if you did it in practice, you would see the same thing you see with your eyes. If you did it with video, it would look messed up. But the best thing to do is to set up 3 cameras or 3 lenses that are recording something that only sees UV, only sees white light, and only sees infrared. That's the best way to do it. Yeah, and the most important why that's important is if you had a camera that's seen everything, you could not determine or distinguish what you're seeing better than the way you could with just the 3 different independent variables with the 3 cameras. All right, Josh. Buy Deadlight, right? Josh makes awesome infrared lights. If you have not heard of Deadlight yet, go over to Deadlight Facebook page and check him out. We got plenty of videos and photos of all the lights he makes. Anything else you want to add? Yay for research, right? Yeah, to add to what Josh is saying, experiment and research with different things, but apply actual science to it and understand the physics behind what you're doing, and you'll be fine. If you don't, it's okay. Just learn. That's what this show is about. We don't know everything. We're not experts. Some people that are watching the show and commenting may know something we don't know, or they may have something to offer that you can learn from. That's what this is all about. So, thanks guys for joining us once again on My Paranormal Soapbox. We're going to end the show like we always do. We'll go to the patrons. Oh, I had you guys muted the whole time, and I don't know how that happened. Oops. Yeah, I need help with that. Anyway, if you would like to support the content we do, the live streams that we do, whether it be this type of live stream or the paranormal research live stream we do, if you like to support, all the video production we do, everything that we do, you can do so through patreon.com. Patreon.com/support interface death. Just $1 a month would help us out tremendously. We're applying real scientific research to the paranormal. You can check out our website and see if my mouth can cash that check from what I say. So anybody who knows what we're doing knows that we are actually trying. So if you want to help us in that regard and you want to see this type of content continue, check out our Patreon. You can get rewards for donating $1 or more. There's different tiers. So the people you see on the screen is what makes this content possible. Christy Brown, which is my wife, she donates even. Clay Bornman, Matthew Jackson, and RJ Murphy, they all are a tremendous help to us, and we appreciate them very, very much. So guys, there you have it. Thanks again for another awesome episode. Next week, I'm going to have another topic. What I will do is start a poll on this blog page, okay? I will submit some possible show topics, and you will vote on which topic I do. If you want to suggest topics, PM me, message me on the blog page, or any other way, email me at justinbrown@interfacedeath.net and suggest things. You can comment on the videos and suggest things. So all the suggestions I will consider putting in the poll each week, and we'll figure out which topic that we're going to do. I like to do this topic because someone actually submitted this suggestion, and I liked it a lot and thought it would have been a good idea. So we did it. So that's awesome. Thanks to Conspiracy for suggesting that, and I thought it turned into an interesting topic of the show. Next week, Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. Join me in talking about what I am passionate about. Tomorrow we have a guest, Matt Fioli, I think is how you pronounce his last name. I will figure out if that's right. If you go to our YouTube channel, Interface Death YouTube channel, you can subscribe there and watch the Necromancer show live, and I interview Matt tomorrow on our YouTube channel. So check that out as well. Visit our website at interfacedeath.net, and all the links in the description. Check them out. Stick around for some video promotions. And as always, you guys are in my heart. I love you very much. You mean a lot to me. Have a good evening and a good rest of the week. We'll see you. Sometimes there is a bit of truth in the legends we are told. We seek to uncover the mysteries that fuel the haunting. We call out to those who remain hidden in shadow.
anybody here in spirit would like to communicate, we're trying to figure out if there's someone here. Is that you?
Do legends tell us about the past? Are they meant to frighten us? Meant to take advantage of what we fear? Or do some hold some trace of truth? Passed down so we never forget. We question, we search, we discover. We discover portals to the past.
Whoa.
What?
My shit just went off.
What?
Bell's going off.
Bell's going off. Capture it. Kill that. Kill that. Something's disturbing the electric field.
I have
Was it you?
No, I wasn't near it.
I moved and it started going off.
Do that again.
Don't go near him.
Yeah, don't go near me. Whatever just did that, do it again. Shh, please.
Is there someone here? You can come up to us.
Did you guys whisper? No.
Mark,